I sort of say things before I think things.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, I just said that, and that's funny. And then it's, it doesn't even feel like it's me making the joke because it just kind of falls out of my mouth.
Yes.
And then I get to just enjoy the mess that fell out. So yeah.
So, bro, when you said you find you funny, Impulse looked at me laughing because he always tells me I'm my biggest fan.
I do. I make fun of him all the time for being his own biggest fan, and I just don't get it because I'm like the opposite and super critical of everything I do.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
We're back on the couch, Skizz. We just cannot make our mind up between like how we want to do this set, can we?
Yeah, or if we want to wear headsets or not.
Yeah, we're just... No, there's actually a good reason for it. It's because we have a guest with us today.
There he is, right
Welcome,
there.
Hello.
Zedaph in the house. Zedaph right there on the TV. I am pumped. I've been waiting for this. It's like we're in the middle of it, and I'm still in this attitude like I can't wait to get started. And we're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's
I
so
see
good.
a spot right there in between you guys on the couch. I would rather be there.
Yeah,
It's totally fit, man. And we do need you back. We need another appearance of Zedaph back in America because we have hung out IRL together, and it was like super fun. Yeah. So we need you. We need you to come back, man. We need you. But yeah, welcome to the show. We are basically going to treat you like anybody else that we've had on. We're going to act like we don't have a clue who you are. And this is for the viewer's sake, obviously. So there's going to be a lot of people that maybe have never heard of you, never watched your content before. And I want to give you just kind of the opportunity to share to them who you are.
Wow. Okay. I'm Zedaph. Hello. I run a YouTube channel, Zedaph Plays. I've been doing it for about 10 years now. 5 of those professionally, I'd say in air quotes. Not sure how professional it's been, but and yeah, I'm a hermit with Impulse there as well. I'm on the Hermitcraft server, and I am Skizz's best friend in the whole world.
Wait, I thought I was. How many best friends do you have? What the heck, man?
I need a backup.
Oh, geez.
Impulse is the backup.
I don't know. He does like you more than me. But that's awesome. Yeah, like you mentioned, we've known each other for quite some time now, and before we get into that, I gotta just start with, because everybody always asks when it comes to like having like gamer names or handles online or whatever instead of using your real name, they always want to know the backstory. Like, how did you come up with your gamer name Zedaph? So I'm just gonna let's hear it. How'd you come up with this one?
So it's not that interesting of a story, really. Back when I was very little, I was playing an online MMO game called RuneScape. Not sure if you've heard of it or not. It's like a fantasy game, like dragons and all this stuff, and I needed a username for it. And I really, it's something irks me about having a username where it's like Dragon Slayer 47231 or something like that, or a really unrealistic name. So yeah, I tried to pick something that would never have been picked before, just a kind of gobbledygook name. And I think I'd recently seen the film Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Awesome book, awesome movie. Highly recommend it. And there's a character in that called Zaphod Beeblebrox, and just took the name Zaphod, did a little bit of flipping letters around and stuff, and then Zedaph came out, and played RuneScape as the name Zedaph for many years. And then when it came to doing YouTube, it was just a sort of the name that fit the best, I guess. So just continued that on. And now I'm stuck with it, with people mispronouncing it all the time, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, we did a bit. We did a bit with that, didn't we? When we were doing the auditions for Moonlight, which is a SMP we got into together a while back before Hermitcraft, which we can talk about as well. But it's always interesting to hear the background on names. Like Skizz and I, we get asked that all the time, and so by now I think we've told that story as well 100 times.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure you've been down that road, but gotta do it because everybody's always just asking that straight away. But I also think it was interesting, like how connections are made when it comes to online creators, like meeting each other for the first time. I know that gets, obviously with Skizz and I, our background's different because we went to school together, we grew up together. But people you meet online, like people ask, how did I meet Tango? I want to ask you the same question, because that's actually how I know you from, was you and Tango had met first, and Tango kind of introduced me to you. So like, how did that kind of introduction to each other come about?
Tango found me. I did none of the finding. He was back in the day, in the very early days when I think I had maybe 4 or 5 videos out on the channel. I used to post them on the Minecraft forums. There was like a Let's Play sort of thread that you could like post your Let's Play to, just so that I didn't get 0 views all the time, to get a couple more. And yeah, within I think the first 10 episodes at least, I was getting a few comments from different people, and one of them was this TangoTech, and I was very nosy and curious, and I decided to like look at everybody's channel who was commenting on me, and this TangoTech person had like 1,000 subscribers or something, which was amazing. It's like, wow, this guy is like a huge YouTuber, like unbelievable. And yeah, so then I knew him from that, and he commented on a few more of my videos, and then we just sort of got talking through YouTube Messenger at the time, or whatever that was, like YouTube Mail. I can't remember. I don't think they even have it anymore, do they? But
I don't think so. But you're right. I do remember way back then there was a way to like privately chat with people through YouTube. Why would they take something like that away?
I don't know. It's kind of an odd thing to have in the first place. But yeah, so he messaged me there, and we got talking, and yeah, the rest is history. He was pretty much my first like other person, my non-real friends that I ever knew. And yeah, like I say, the rest is history.
So what is it? What drew him to you?
I mean, isn't it obvious?
It's obvious. Yeah, it's obvious to me. But I'm curious, like, what did he say? How did he reach out? What did he?
I mean, I wish I could pull up that first comment that he put, but I think he was just interested in what I was doing. I think similar to how I didn't really know anybody else. I didn't have like a community going on in that respect. I think neither did he, and maybe we were doing somewhat similar kind of stuff in those early days. And yeah, he just reached out, and like I say, he reached out initially, and then I was the one kind of pushing to try and make sure that became more of a friendship or something, and not just a little comment back and forth. But
yeah,
I can imagine, because anybody that's watching your content, the way that you play Minecraft, the way that you form your videos, you're very unique, right, with what you do, the concepts you come up with in game, how you treat the game. You don't just play the game like most people, where you're like, okay, I'm going to start from punching a tree, and then I want to have an industry of every block in the game. You kind of like try to find ways to make the game fun and approach it from unique angles, and bring characters into the game. I mean, I remember watching some of your early content before you were ever on Hermitcraft, where you created a character called Willy the Worm, right? And suddenly you had this like pet, and it literally wasn't even like an animated thing in game. It was like just like 6 blocks that were in the shape of a worm with pink wool, and you put a little sign on it to make a little face. And like you all of a sudden are telling this like story of Willy and how you're taking care of him in the game. And this is like stuff that like normal normal no, Minecrafters don't typically do, right? Like, so
yeah,
I don't I don't know what was going on in Tango's mind, but I remember when he introduced me to your content, that was the first thing I thought was, wow, this dude is thinking outside the box. And that was like really cool to see. And here we are 10 years down the road, and you're still doing it on Hermitcraft. You've gone through some different things, the mad scientist, and now you're hanging mobs upside down at your base in Hermitcraft, and just off the wall stuff. Like every time I come to your base, I just look around and I'm just like, I would have never in a million years thought to do this, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. When I watch your videos, I was so my wife goes walking by one time, and I put on one of your videos, and the specific one I was watching was the Zedvancement about, I think it was 10 deaths as quick as you can or whatever. I don't remember what the number was, but 10 unique deaths, and you did it. You worked it out. So once you died, you'd go back to the bed, but they would move the blocks around. So it would kind of dictate the next block that you would land on. And then that would trigger the next death. And it was great. It was obviously a good idea. But as I'm watching this, I'm like, this dude is amazing. Like, this is so creative. This is so unique, and so, and above all, so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so much fun. And it was really, it was cool to see Tango's raw reaction, because he was in charge of not of killing you. What did you do with Tango? All I knew is that he kept seeing the death messages going, what is how? He killed you the first time.
He started the chain off.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted someone else's reaction there that didn't know what was going to happen, just because I thought it'd be funny. you often, when like somebody gets stuck in a death loop, you see their death message pop up again and again, and you think, oh no, what's happening? And I wanted him to see this bizarre death loop of messages appear.
Yeah.
And it was great because he reacted perfectly.
He goes, how are you doing this? Because you kept dying in the most unique ways, one after the other, to the point to where I kind of like to be a fly on the wall for everybody else who was on the server at the time, reading those messages going, how is this happening right now? It was so good.
Yeah. I mean, that is one thing that you're doing this season, ZED advancements. So, in the normal Minecraft game, they have advancements and there's certain things you could do. Punch a tree, you get, is one advancement type thing. Collect all the wool. They have different types of advancements. You made your own. You're coming up with ones that nobody has ever thought of. Like, where did this idea even stem from to start ZED advancements?
It's quite an idea, I must say. I think it's my favorite kind of series concept that I've done so far. I'm really proud of it. Really happy with how it's going. I'm loving it because it just lets me be so unique and do such weird different things. But yeah, so it originally just came from doing the normal advancements in game. Like, it's always a fun idea to sort of step outside of the normal box of just kind of surviving and actually try and do something that you wouldn't normally do by trying to follow the in-game advancements. And I just thought, you know what, I want to try and do something that nobody has ever done, or maybe like less than 1% of people have ever achieved in Minecraft before. And that usually means the really weird, silly stuff, because why would anyone have? And then, it just kind of grew from there. And it was actually an idea I had before the previous season, which was a shorter season of Hermitcraft that we had. And I wanted to do that idea, but I knew we were going to be having a slightly shorter season than usual. And I didn't want to waste such a cool kind of season-long objective on that, so I had to quickly come up with some other completely different idea, and that ended up being my science themed season. But yeah, so I was super glad. Like, I had it probably about a year and a half before this current season we're in now even actually began. So plenty of time to think random wacky thoughts of different things, and had plenty of help as well from viewers and my patrons and things like that. They suggested a lot of stuff, but it's very tricky to come up with something that's both unique and hasn't been done before, but equally is doable by me, like a humble mortal. I'm not brilliant at the game at all, so it's got to actually be doable and not take me 100 hours to try and achieve. And also something that's kind of, it's just got to feel right as well. I don't want to just step on every type of block once or something, because that's not fun. That's not fun to watch.
Yes,
it's got to have that catch to it. That's kind of like, it's an experience. The experience of doing the Z advancement, it puts you in a place where you would never have done that before, which means hopefully it's entertaining to watch, because hopefully that means the player, the person watching hasn't ever done it before either. That's right. My thinking, at least.
I like it a lot.
It works out great. I mean, like, you had that one where it was like a mob riding a mob, and then you ride that, and then you like set it up so that it was like going in a circle, and like it's just like visually stimulating and funny at the same time, and yeah, these ideas that you came up with are just they're super fun to watch, and whether you asked me to be involved or I'm just watching and you drag another hermit into it like you do with Tango, I mean, it's just awesome to see. I mean, that was what a concept.
I think the word that you use there that resonates so heavily with me is you use the word experience. And I feel like this is going to sound crazy, but I feel like I play in a very similar fashion when it comes to Minecraft. I do the weirdest things. We've mentioned it before when I did Skyburger, where you push a button and like 50 cows come raining out of the sky and die in front of you, and you get all that beef. But before they do it, they pass through a lava curtain, so they're cooked. It's a bunch of, they all die, and then just cooked steak flies all over the place. It's a crazy thing to do, but it was about the experience. Mm-hmm. The psychedelic drop was about the experience. I like to do that, but here's the deal. The reason I first of all, I enjoy it. I like giving the audience something that actually feels like an experience the way you do. But my Minecraft is crap. You know what I mean? It just is. I don't have the redstone skills. I don't have the building skills. So it's almost like this happened sort of out of default or out of necessity or whatever, but it's also what I kind of am naturally good at. And it's just being quirky and just finding a way to play the game in a fashion that you've just not seen before. And that's what draws me to your videos so heavily is that it's right up my alley. You know, and I see these advancements and I see the things you do. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, man. These are total experiences. It's so unique and so different and so much fun. It's just so enjoyable, you know? And so now I want to kind of ask you, because since we are similar in that fashion, and in others that we're going to talk about later, but do you find yourself in a space, because I do this all the time, where, you know, you conjure up these ideas and they sound good. And you go to bed that night thinking, that's what I'm going to do. And then I wake up, I start doing it. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever tried to do. Like the self-doubt is just overwhelming. Do you experience that?
Yeah, a little bit. It tends to be towards the beginning of the idea. I really struggle to find the right angle. There's an idea there, but I don't know what direction to approach it in to kind of fit. And until I've kind of figured that out, I often kind of stagnate a lot. I'm too anxious almost to actually get the video started. But as soon as I've kind of got that road laid out, and I'm like, okay, if I do this first, it will kind of naturally kind of lead into that. Then I'm away. Then I'm good. I'm happy, head down, working on the video, super happy. So yeah, it's just that initial thing. I just got to figure out the key to the idea, really.
Yeah.
That
okay.
makes sense. So, I mean, one thing is, like, we're talking about Minecraft and what you do in Minecraft as a content creator. And I think the one thing about Minecraft that a lot of people love about the game is that there's like so many different ways that you can play it. Like Skizz was mentioning, you know, not necessarily a builder or a redstoner, but you can tell a story with unique ideas and things like that. What was it that drew you initially to the game? Do you remember, 10, 12 years ago, however long it was when you picked up the game to begin with? Like what made you want to play Minecraft in the first place?
The short answer is no, I don't remember. The long answer is I don't know. Yeah, it was just I've always enjoyed Lego and things like that. So there's the kind of comparisons to Lego and things, but it was watching other people play it. Honestly, I was watching a few YouTubers that played it. Etho was my first, as I'm sure he is to a lot of people.
Most people, yeah.
And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to be able to do what Etho was doing, or maybe there was a few other people I was watching who would just be playing it from a more survival point of view, and I'd be thinking like, oh, I would have done that. I would have done that a bit different. Like that was an odd choice you took. I would have done it this other way. So I just had to get the game myself and play it. But I did play for a long time in single player on my own, kind of just learning the fundamentals of the game really. Before I did any kind of YouTube video or even attempted to record anything. So yeah, I think that kind of helped get the basics of the game going before kind of doing anything.
Wow. Okay, so you did play for quite some time, it sounds like, before you ever started recording. And you did a solo series. What was it? Zedaph Super Minecraft Adventures. Yeah. I think you did over like 100 episodes.
I did exactly 100 episodes.
Exactly 100 episodes.
Yeah.
So what was it like going from like that single player experience to joining like an SMP? So like I mentioned Moonlight, when once me and you and Tango, we started hanging out. We also made friends with Grifoniak, and we decided like, hey, it'd be cool if we all just got on a world together and recorded together in this multiplayer, survival series. And then we were doing that, right? We created Moonlight. You joined that. What was the difference? Do you remember like feeling any different, having like more of a collaborative Minecraft experience versus what you did 100 episodes of solo with?
Yeah, so Moonlight was actually pretty much slap bang in the middle of those 100 episodes. And yeah, I remember at the time I really did struggle actually to kind of change my mindset. I was playing very single player still, even on a server with other people. I think I didn't really embrace it enough. I guess where I'd been doing it on my own for so long, I didn't really know any other way. I had my workflow, the way I would build something and edit it. And I would say as well, my editing is quite important to me. I think that's like the thing that I really focus on the most is the editing of the video. And other people mess that up a lot. It's hard. It's hard to do it with other people because I know when I'm gonna end a scene and I'll be able to kind of maybe say something like so we need to, and then I'll cut, and then I'll go to the next place and then be like, go to the nether, and then I'm already at the nether, or something silly like that. So I'm kind of like editing it in my head as I go. And as soon as you got somebody else there, it's very difficult to do that. So I think I was quite shy, I guess, or just kind of nervous to lose that little bit of control that I had with the single player stuff. But I mean, it's always good fun. Like the point of joining Moonlight was to be able to play with you and Tango and Graphoniac and all that. Like it was great. It was short lived at the time. I think I maybe made 10 episodes. I can't remember now.
There was some memorable stuff in there, though. I remember you were going around and issuing like citations for things that people did that like weren't safe. You were like safety police or something. Do you remember that?
I remember putting lots of like yellow and black tape down and closing things off because they weren't safe. Yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah.
You know, there's when I watch a movie and there's certain things that stick out to me or they just last forever. Like if I were to talk about A League of Their Own, right? It's a movie with Tom Hanks. It's about when the war was happening and women came in and played a lot of baseball. It's great. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And there's a lot of little pieces in that movie where there's just a subtle thing that Hanks does that I just love it. It's just like a little, it's a single word or it's a single gesture or whatever. That was kind of my first real exposure to Zed. I don't remember if it was part of Moonlight or if you and Graf did your own. Did you and Graf do your own series for a bit there?
We did like a small, almost like a kind of the equivalent to UHC, but it was like a small kind of survival mini series thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if I remember correctly, it was you guys started by falling out of a plane.
We had this whole movie at the beginning with a plane moving along, and we had to like jump out. I think Tango was the pilot.
And that's right. He was the pilot, and he nailed the pilot voice, by the way, if I remember correctly. But you come out, you guys went on onto the wing, and that's when Zed said, and they did the sound effects, you know, like this plane's supposed to be flying. You don't just walk on the wing. And he's all, it's a bit breezy out here. And I just started cracking up, and then they fall. And Zed does this thing where they're making panicking noises as they're falling to the ground and they hit the water. And he just kind of gives this last ditch effort panic scream that is, there's no way I can properly articulate it. It is the funniest noise I've ever heard. If there's any chance at all, I'm gonna try to play it like right now. I'll try to play it right now. I'll just cut to it and come back. If there's any chance I can find it, I don't even know if that video still exists. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's there.
It was so like, and the weird thing is that noise you made, that last ditch panic noise that you made right before you hit the water was so good. I think I rewound and played just that noise about 50 times. I should have just made it my ringtone or something. It was the funniest thing in the world. And that moment on, I was just hooked. I'm like, this guy I love him. It's just so funny, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. I got to check out my retention graph for that video. Now, there's going to be this spike in the middle.
Yeah.
Give it a couple of weeks and go back and look and see if you got some new ones on there. He brings up a good point. Like I forget about that sometimes. Is that like you do have and you have done a lot more than just like your single player and what people see you do on Hermitcraft. Like you had that survival series that he just mentioned. You also had one that I remember that I thought was really unique in that you kind of created a game inside of Minecraft. I think you used command blocks and stuff. It was called Proximity. And it was like this island-based game where you came up with this concept that like you were invisible on certain islands. And then when you got on another island with the enemy, then it was visible and you would fight it out. Like, can you walk us through like how that concept came to be and what it was like developing something like that?
So yeah, first off, Proximity, I love it. Never done anything like it again since, and I totally should. Maybe a Proximity 2. Maybe I'll get thinking about that already.
We won't put you on the spot for it, but if you want to, I'd love to play it.
Yeah, no promises, but who knows? I mean, I don't really remember how I came up with it other than I think I was just playing with the command blocks and the commands that we had at the time, which were much, much more limited back then to what we have now. We've got like data packs. You don't even need command blocks anymore. It's all just coding. But yeah, back then, I think I just discovered that you could do a sort of target a player on a team with a range effect, and anyone within that kind of sphere of them would get another effect put on them. So I just decided to do the invisibility thing, and it was the whole proximity. If you get too close, you can see the enemy and they can see you, and then you run away and go invisible again. So I just sort of played with that and tried my best to come up with a map that would kind of suit that. I mean, it's very, very rudimentary, very kind of abstract to what I could probably do now. But it worked, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. We played it for a bit. I think it had a few thousand downloads, maybe, which especially at the time I was incredibly happy with. People seem to have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I've always kind of wanted to do a little bit of game design and code and stuff. I've never really actually took the time to sit down and learn it, though, unfortunately. But I'm very intrigued by coding and the ability to kind of create stuff like that. It's like magic to me. So yeah, definitely Proximity 2.
Wow, very cool.
That would be cool to see. I just remember being super impressed that you even had like the skill set to understand the command blocks and stuff like that, because that is like way outside our norm as like typical, you know, let's play content creators. You know, that's more.
I try and dabble.
Yeah,
you know, dabble in a bit of everything. Not good at anything, but can just about do everything.
You want to know?
That's my goal.
Let me tell you how I felt about it. Okay, because we played it with. If you guys remember, I don't remember if we streamed it or filmed it or just played it. I actually don't remember. I just remember it being a ton of fun. And while I enjoyed it, you ready for this? It pissed me off. I was not the game. The fact that he made it because Zed, we have a very, very similar humor. We have a very similar cadence. We have our energy is very much in line when it comes to what it is to entertain. And I just loved it. And then he goes and creates this game, and I'm like, well, screw him. He's good at this too.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not cool. Leave that up to the nerds. Like how you're out there programming now? I can't do that. I remember feeling like I'm back here on my own again. It's like so fun, but it was so cool though. It was just so much fun. Really clever. So on the note of the fact that I kind of want to talk about this, and I'm not necessarily trying to deviate away from Minecraft or anything, but we do have a very, very similar humor, and you know what? It's not for everybody. It's for most people, which I've found. But we just a lot of what we find funny, is in line. What kind of distracts us, and we lean into. I remember when he was talking about how huge the nostrils on the chicken were. Like it was like it's crazy huge. He found a chicken, and it was like the first time in the game he noticed that the chickens have huge nostrils, and he really leaned into just that. I'm like, that's what I do. That just happens. Like, and that's why I like this guy. And it got me thinking, like, I've just sort of always been the goofy guy my whole life, ever since I was younger. I mean, I did a lot of different things, but I was always sort of the guy that I was in charge of making people laugh. And I'm curious, did you grow up like that too? Or is this something you discovered later in life?
Firstly, thank you, by the way. To be compared to you, Skizz, is truly an honor because you're hilarious. But so I'm the youngest of three. I've got two very much older sisters. They are 7 and 9 years older than me. So I was very much the baby of the family. And I guess, I don't know, they would try and sort of play with me a lot and dress me up all silly and everything. And I love the attention. And I guess I just sort of learned that it was okay to kind of be silly because everyone would laugh at me. And then, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'd say for me, like comedy wise, I don't expect other people to find me funny. I find myself funny, which I know is a horrible trait to have. But I think it's because I sort of say things before I think things. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I just said that and that's funny. And then it's, it doesn't even feel like it's me making the joke because it just kind of falls out of my mouth.
Yes.
And then I get to just enjoy the mess that fell out. So yeah.
Bro, when you said you find you funny, Impulse looked at me laughing because he always tells me I'm my biggest fan.
I do. I make fun of him all the time for being his own biggest fan. And I just don't get it because I'm like the opposite and super critical of everything I do. But yeah, anytime he like says a joke, like his own thing, he starts laughing at it like hysterically. And I'm like, don't you want to just let other people laugh? Like
they can laugh.
You have confidence that you said something funny, but you're also cracking up at the same time. But yeah, you guys are very, very similar in that way. And like you said, it's like, you find yourself being more unique that way. We actually had a question from one of our Glimpse supporters that kind of revolves around that. And it is that you have found a way to be comfortable with your uniqueness, and you were kind of in this world now where it feels like uniqueness is frowned upon, or people try to push against it. What would you recommend if you were to meet a child who was like you and wanted to be unique, but feels this like peer pressure around them to kind of conform and just do the same thing everybody else does? What would you say to that child?
It's difficult. It is really difficult. The feeling, the pressure that you have to try and conform to something like that, it's strong. It really is strong. But it's one of those things. I think you got to try it. You just got to try it. Be brave. Try something, and hopefully you'll get good results. It won't be as bad as you thought. And I think as long as you're kind of being yourself and all that kind of stuff, then you're doing fine, right? Because you're doing what you want to do. At least you're making yourself happy. Your job's not to try and make other people happy necessarily. I mean, maybe being a YouTuber a little bit, it's meant to be, but again, I always just find as long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing and I'm enjoying the video I'm making, I put it out there, and hey, apparently there are other people out there that must think the same way as me because they seem to enjoy it as well. So fantastic. That's what I would say. You just gotta try, unfortunately. And that's the hardest bit. That first step is difficult, but once you start maybe seeing that people like you for who you are and for what you do, that just gives you like compounded confidence to just be yourself. And you'll find that even if there's some people out there that won't like you for who you are, doesn't matter because you like yourself.
Yeah,
I like fantastic advice. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, like you hopefully things will always like land, right? But there's going to be moments where things don't land. Like every comedian has gone through this where they tell a joke on stage and it just didn't land, right? Have you ever like had that happen to you? Anything you can remember, or if not, like what do you do when that happens to make sure you like are able to get past that?
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember a particular example, and it does happen. But luckily, with YouTube and live streaming, you don't hear the audience. You don't know if they're laughing or not. So you just keep on going.
Yeah.
You just enjoy yourself. There's at least not that feedback. I would hate to be on stage. I absolutely hate any kind of public speaking or anything like that. Because I think that might be the reason. I can see the disappointed looks in the audience's eyes as I'm saying whatever I'm saying. So yeah, it's tough, but luckily, doing what we do, you kind of can hide away from it a bit and just focus on your own thing.
See, and I find that super interesting because when I'm streaming, sometimes there are things that happen. And I know I'm my biggest fan, but unequivocally, that was really funny. Like whatever it was, like it was objectively very funny. And you see the chat go nuts with the LOLs and the laughing emotes and whatever. And it's just completely silent. And I remember thinking, I wish I could hear it. You know what I mean? Like, I really wish I could hear it because I am comfortable on stage. I am comfortable in public speaking. I actually kind of sort of enjoy that gig or whatever. Because of that reason, I like getting that reaction. I wish you were there when I did the best man speech at Joey's wedding. I wish you were there for that because it was. I had that audience like hook, line, and sinker, man. I had like, you know what I mean? And I remember really enjoying it. But to kind of double down on what you're saying in regards to you got to just be good with yourself, I couldn't possibly agree with you more. And in regards to people not really being in line with you, yeah, of course I think I'm funny. It's the reason I do what I do because it's what I think is going to be funny. And if people don't, that's okay. Like you got to instantly know it's got to be okay. And here's why: because guaranteed there's going to be people out there who they're not into it. There's no such thing as one comedian that everybody likes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, you can't ever please 100% of the people, right?
Never.
Like that's been the hardest part, I think, about being a content creator is like knowing that you're not going to please everybody, and there are going to be things that you say or do that people are going to either disagree with and not like, or form some sort of opinion about you. And with the comment section, sometimes it can be brutal if you don't have that thick skin to read through. I mean, do you find yourself like Skizz and I do have a little bit of differences as far as like how much time we spend reading feedback from other, like on our videos, our comment sections, things like that. I would say I have the problem of doing it too much. Like I try to read every single comment And then he's kind of on the flip side where like you'll read a few comments and then it's like, okay, that's enough, right? And then kind of move on. Do you find yourself anywhere on that scale? And like, how do comments affect you personally?
Yeah, I do read every comment I get. I've just got it set up on my phone to just show me, like, it's not video per video, it's just like all comments ever. So even a comment on like a 10-year-old video, I'll still see. Which they're my favorite, by the way. When you see that like really old one come on, it's like, oh great, yeah, someone's watching that thing. So yeah, I try. I like you say, you kind of grow a thick skin for it. I think just the more you do it, I can totally see why some people just would decide to not look at it at all. But I like to think that the positive comments will always kind of overwhelm the negative comments for the most part, and then a lot of the time the negative people, I'm just like, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. And then the people that are positive, they know what they're talking about. They're the ones I focus on.
Yeah,
that's perfect. I think I like what you said about like being able to see comments from 10 years ago or whatever. Have you ever actually like gone back and rewatched like your episode 1 of the first video like you ever put out? And like, if you have, like, what was your reaction to see like you now versus you then? What would you say to yourself, like, if you could talk to yourself, the you from 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's a bit of a. I've got pretty much just that first video. There's not been that many sort of in the middle ones that I've gone back to watch. Although, like you say, the thing with the aeroplane with the Raphoniac and all that, like, I need to hear this amazing noise that I was able to produce now, because I don't know what you mean. But yeah, looking back at that first ever episode, I'm still impressed to this day how many things are the same. There's obviously like the microphone quality and the visual quality isn't as good and everything, but that's to be expected. But the kind of the way I'm present. I mean, my first episode is just me running around making random noises as I'm killing a bunch of chickens, just like a quick cuts, little ones, haja, haja, all this kind of thing. And it's totally the kind of thing I would still do today. So in that respect, yeah, very, very similar still. So I'm glad that I've able to keep some level of kind of consistency over my YouTube. But yeah, equally there's a level of kind of cringe as well. There'll be certain things that I'll just kind of maybe drag out a little bit too long, maybe a minute or two longer than I should. Whereas now I'll be a lot more better at kind of chopping it up into a much more manageable, bite size edit. Again, like I said before, like, editing is, I think, a really powerful tool. So I really do try to utilize that in my video, not just kind of have a start to the video and I do some stuff and then it ends. Like, I try and kind of get a good pacing going and a flow going with my edit. But yeah, that's probably what I would tell myself back then, is to not be afraid of editing yourself a little bit more, because those 10-second pauses that you're leaving, we don't need to hear those.
Yeah, you can kind of you can pick up on the moment that whatever's happening in the video has officially overstayed its welcome.
Yeah,
it's that's a finesse. That's a maturity of touch that we don't.
Oh my God, I was literally going to use that term,
finesse or maturity
of touch.
Yeah.
In drumming, like because Skizz and I are both drummers, and like at some point you go from just understanding how to hold the stick and how to hit the drum and how to make a rhythm to like, there's like a maturity of touch is what they call it. Like, you can literally hear like the tone in the drumstick based off of like how you're holding it, and like, like the specific grip that you have and that like you hear it like as drummers, like you can tell that person has maturity of touch, that person does not.
Yep.
And it's kind of like that with video editing, right? Like,
yes,
I'll let you continue. I just had to stop because I was like blown away by the fact that you and I were about to use the same verbiage
phrase.
there. But yeah.
No, but that's what it is that in the beginning, you don't quite have it. And I'm with you on that, to the point to where if I quite literally cannot watch my earlier stuff. It's nauseating. It's like, I almost want to put a note, like rename it to, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Because it's like so bad, but you go through time, and as you're editing, a couple different things happen. Like you're saying, you're editing and you understand what that cadence is. You get the maturity of touch. You know what you're doing. You know when something is overstayed its welcome. And then it's confounded when you're realizing that while you're filming, like you're saying, you know what you're going to do. And then now you just talked about it, a second ago. It's the same thing. It's like, I haven't even imported this into Adobe yet. I know exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm not even done recording what I'm going to end up. And I know exactly, you kind of, you get it all and you get that rhythm down. So it's hard to go easy on yourself on the older stuff, but it makes sense because the maturity of touch wasn't quite there yet. So which begs the question, what am I doing now that I'm going to look at in the future and go, oh, I had no idea what I was doing. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to improve on now?
I was a guest on this podcast once. Wow. Yeah. What a time. What a mistake.
What was I thinking?
Oh man. Yeah. It does get you thinking, like, what will things look like 10 years from now when we have a chance to, I mean, obviously 10 years ago, could you have ever envisioned that you would still be doing this 10 years down the road and that you would have grown to the success that you have today?
No. I mean, absolutely not. Straight, like every month, every year that goes by, I am surprised that I'm still doing it. It's still a thing. Like slightly less so since I've been doing it professionally over these last 5 or so years, but even still, like the growth from back then to now has just been unbelievable. I have like imposter syndrome almost about it because it just doesn't feel real. It's such a sort of cool, interesting job to be able to do and have. I just feel incredibly lucky that I'm able to still be doing it. And who knows? Yeah, maybe 5-10 years, maybe I won't be able to be doing it anymore. But I thought that 5 years ago, and here I am. So
right,
hopefully, fingers crossed. Things will still be going just as good in the next 5-10 years.
What are conversations like with your friends and family when you tell them this is, or you first became professional? You said, this is what I'm going to do full time. I'm not going to pursue some other kind of career. I'm going to be a YouTuber. Do you remember those conversations, and what were they like?
I still struggle now with my mum and dad. They don't know. They don't get it. They don't truly understand what I do still. And that's fine. I mean, they're very supportive. They watch a lot of streams I do. They'll pop up in the stream chat quite often. They've tried to watch a few of the videos. That's a little bit harder for them, I think, because it's that one step more of kind of, because it's like edited and a lot more kind of focused content. So it's interesting to hear their thoughts on it. Sometimes I think they're getting it, and then they'll say something that's just completely off base of what I'm doing, or who the hermits are, or who my patrons are, and all this kind of stuff. So it's very funny to hear. But I mean, I was very fortunate that I didn't really have a real job. I kind of floated around a little bit after school. I didn't go to university. I didn't know what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. So I thought there's no point in doing a course in something just for the sake of it, end up with student debt and whatnot. So I just focused on learning what I wanted to do. When that thing came along, I would do it. And I was very fortunate that I was able to take those few years to figure that out without just being kicked out on the street or something. So I was able to start doing it professionally in a very small way because I was still living at home with my mum, so I didn't have very many expenses. So the amount I needed to earn from doing YouTube and all of this was a lot lower than I'm sure it could have been for many people. Like I know you guys, like you both were able to kind of leave your jobs, right?
Well, not me.
Not you, Skizz. Yeah,
still working on it. Closer every day, but
yeah, I mean, I'm making enough in this world to where if it was just me, or I didn't have a child who's going to college in New York, I could, but that's my expenses, and I'm not complaining. So we're very clear here. My expenses are very, very high at this time in my life right now. So it's not realistic to the point to where I find myself in a really interesting space right now. I'm struggling right now because my current situation is this. I'm not on the cusp of being able to make the jump, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then on top of that, I could literally leave my job right now, which I get paid very well for, and get a year of pay before it goes away. And I'm like, dude, if I just dedicated a year to this, but then my brain's like, there's your most favorite people in the world are depending on you, and you're not in a place. This is not I'm doing it. Can I keep doing it? This is what I'm doing now would not cut the mustard. It's not going to get it done. So that's a huge risk. And if it was just me, I would take the risk, but it's not just me. It's my favorite people in the world. It's my family, So not yet, maybe one day, just not yet. And so, but But here you are. I mean, you're both doing it, and it's hard to explain. Like you said, my mom still says, "How's it going with the Skittle Man?" Right? She calls me Skittle Man.
Skittles.
Yeah, Skittles Man. Well, what is it? You know what I mean? And so it's like this back and forth. And they wouldn't get it. They watch the Minecraft. You have no idea what you're even looking at. It's not going to be enjoyable for you, you know. And she watches these, so you know. Sorry, Mom.
Yeah,
but
I have the same thing. Is like my parents, you know, obviously aren't into Minecraft, but they did like when we did the animated shorts. They like watching those because it's more of like a cartoon, and it's short, and they can just, you know, when their friends ask about, you know, what does your son do, they can just show them that, and it's kind of quick. And then now the podcast obviously is something a little more easy to show people, and it's like people get it, right, versus Minecraft content. But right, I did have to kind of coach them for the longest time, because like when people would ask like, what does your son do, they'd just say he plays Minecraft. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, no, mom, dad, no, it is a lot more to it than just playing the video game, right? Like, and that's what we find ourselves in the content creator space for the first time, is like having to learn that like there is far more behind what goes into a video than just playing the video game, right? And you mentioned you're heavy into editing, and you have like some serious skills with when it comes to editing, even outside of the video game, which I, at this point in the podcast, I want to kind of save that other world of things that you do.
I was exactly thinking that
for a part 2, because there is a big poster behind you, and it is another piece of your life. That's there's another piece of your life that you do outside of just playing Minecraft and being on the Hermitcraft server and all that kind of stuff that we've been talking about for the past 40 plus minutes. And I want to give that like proper time, because you and your buddy Jack, you have a podcast that you just restarted called A World Without. And aside from that, you have a whole channel that you guys did some amazing work on. I know it's on hiatus at the moment, at least that portion, that style of video on that channel. But I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the experience that you had basically making short films with your buddy Jack. And so, I don't want to rush through it and feel like we're going to shove all that into the rest of this particular segment of the podcast. So how would you feel if we wrap things up right now and we bring you back for a part 2, which will happen the week after? You got time for that?
Absolutely. It sounds like a great time. Yeah. Let's do it.
Dude, you absolutely read my mind. Like this whole time I was like, I like, we're talking about all these great things. I'm like, I really want to get into Chris and Jack.
I really did. I've been dying to get into, because you just literally restarted your podcast with Jack, and I listened to some of it, and it's just fantastic. It's a fantastic podcast. And it just reminded me that, like, you know, as we talked about you developing proximity and you doing all this stuff, I wanted to be like, you do so much more than what we've talked about, and we got to talk about it, but I want to give it its proper due. So let's take a quick break, and for all the viewers and listeners, sorry, you're gonna have to wait another week, but we'll bring you back for part 2 if you're down.
Brilliant. Yeah, sounds good, guys.
All right, excellent. We'll see you again in a bit.